Today's lesson is going to seem completely irrelevant to the class, but I do guarantee we're going to use it to work on a very important skill. I introduced it as a game because a lot of math skills that we've learned were learned through games. Our job in this game is to determine what we call a final score. So again, just use your imagination. Work with me for a little bit because there is a point to it. What I found out whenever I'm teaching is that whenever I teach something as a lesson, the first thing students say is, I can't do it. But when they actually know what the skill involved is, they say, oh, that's it, and then they kind of get it right. So we are going to kind of introduce this process now. I'm not even going to tell you what the skill set is, but just stick with me and know that there is a point because I'm never going to waste your time in this class. Imagine that a game is played. We don't know what the game is, but let's just say that there's two sets. So first portion of the game, second portion of the game, like first half, second half, who knows? But either way, it's completed after two sets no matter what. The final score determines the winner of the game. So let's speak through some basic results just to tell you. So let's assume that the white team scored 11 in the first set, and then the white team scored 10 in the second set. Well, if you use your common sense here, the only team that scored is the white team, which means that is actually going to make them score more overall. So it should make sense that if it's the same team scoring that we're going to add the total points. 11 plus 10 is 21. And you do want to put the name on there because that's going to tell you who won. So the final result is that white scored 21 points overall, or white won by 21 points. Because think about it, if they scored 11, they outscored by 11, they outscored by 10, which means they outscored the other team by 21. So your final result is going to be based off of those two sets. So again, we will explain this, but the key thing to me is if the same team scored, I would just add it up and say that white scored 21 points. Like, that's the common sense portion. The part where people get confused is when the scores are different. But I guess that's not this because I didn't read ahead. Black team scored 7 in the first set. Black team scored 17 in the second set. Again, the only team that scored is the black team, which means that all we really have to do is add them up. 7 and 17 makes 24. But again, the name is important because the black team won by 24 because again they scored 24 more points than the other team. Again, both of these games should be considered simple because the final result is a result of adding the values. But what happens when the colors are different? That's where you use your common sense. And you've done this before, but again, once I explain this to people during the lesson, they're like, I don't get it, but you know you've done this. White team scores 9 in the first set, black team scores 11 in the second set. Before I go any further, you should be able to look at this and tell me who won. And you should be able to tell me how much they won by. And that's really all you're doing anyway. So because the scores are different, the final result is based off of who scored more. Obviously, the black team scored more, and they scored by 2 because 11 minus 9 is 2. So they won by 2 points, which again makes sense. The white team needs 2 more points to match the black team, and therefore black 2 would be your answer there. All right. Black team scored 14 in the first set. White team scored 20 in the second set. Again, we should be able to determine who won. That part is easy. It looks to me like the white team won. Well, how much did they win by? The way you figure out that number is by subtracting. 20 minus 14 is 6. That's why the white team won by 6. So, the problems on this worksheet in the computer will not be as wordy. They will simply list the results of 2 sets. So let's look at a few examples before we move on to the worksheet for the day. So white 4, black 10. And all you're trying to do is train yourself to look and ask yourself, do I put these two numbers together or do I subtract them? And really that's all you're looking at. Do I add them or do I subtract? Because the rest of it's pretty easy. Obvious to me, the team that wins is black. And they won by, looks like 6 points. And that's all I have to do. In this set, the only team that scored is the black team, which means black won. And because they scored 7 and they scored 2, it looks to me like they would score a total of 9. And that is all you have to do, is look at it, make your decision, get your answer. All right, that is it. It's nothing where it's too intensive in terms of making you think. It's just a matter of, can you observe, can you figure out which way to go, and then make the proper choice that you're supposed to make. That is the key thing. Let me see if I can focus this thing better. All right, white 9, black 1. Looks to me like this team scored, or this team won. Because this was 2 different things, the question is, how much did they win by? Well, 9 minus 1 is 8, so they won by 8. That's it. Black 6, black 5. The only team that scored is this one. And looks to me like they scored a total of 11. So whenever they're the same, we add. Whenever they're different, we subtract. Doesn't matter the order. Doesn't matter anything like that. You look at it, you make your decision, use your common sense. Black 4, white 1. Obviously black 1. And looks to me like black 1 by 3. So that would be your answer. Black 7, white 9. Looks to me like white 1. And looks to me like they won by 2. So again, notice the order of the colors does not matter when they are different. All that matters is which team had more points. Afterwards, you just subtract to find the final value. I don't think we really need to review the addition ones whenever it's just one team scoring. So keep in mind, as long as you focus on the tough portion of the work or the tough portion of a process and try to get that down, I think everything else is easy. So just remember, whenever the scores are different, look at who scored more and then subtract to find out how much they scored more by, and that is going to be your answer. So outside of that, let's look at this worksheet for the day and let's get to work.